Hi everybody, how are you? Welcome to our masterclass. We are a couple of minutes early, but I always like to come on a little bit early just to be able to say hello to you all and make sure that there's no technical hitches. So, for those of you that haven't discovered the chat box yet, it is, or it should be, on the right hand of your screen. So if you can just type in the chat to let me know that you can hear me and that I'm coming through loud and clear and that you can see the screen, that'd be really good. Just type in the chat box, let me know that you can hear me. Don't be shy. We don't bite. We're going to be using this chat box a lot over the next hour or so. Martha's saying she can hear me. What about all you other wonderful people out there? I can see you all on here and you're all being very quiet. Hi, Ingrid. How are you? Nice to have you on here. All right. So whilst we wait for other people to join us, because I am a couple of minutes early, I do this every single time, and I find it highly amusing to try and find out how many countries and cities that we're representing each time we do a webinar. Here we go. You're all coming alive now. So we've got Siobhan, Carly, Fasea, nice to have you here. Hydron, hi Hydron, how are you? Madwish, Jem, excellent, good. All right, so you guys, now you've found the chat box, I want you to tell me where you're from. All right, so we've got Kelly, who is from Clearwater in Florida. Fantastic, excellent, good to know we've got somebody from the States. Martha, of course, is in London. Here we go. So we've got Quebec, Canada, Liverpool, Dublin, Montreal. Oh, this is good. We've got Leicestershire, New Zealand, but lives in London. Okay, fine. So we've got a Kiwi in London. Hydron's in Vienna, Lily's in Bournemouth. Oh, I love Bournemouth. It's such a pretty place. Denmark, Pakistan, living in Cardiff. My goodness. And of course, Benita's in Cape Town, Carly and Surrey. Oh, this is great. So we've got quite a nice section of people on here too. A really good mixture with some people in the US, some in Canada, and others spread all around the UK, which is fantastic. Well, it's nearly time to get started. I'll just give everybody a couple more minutes to come on and join us so that I know nobody is missing out at the start. This is our last masterclass. So I might have to throw in a few extra things just because it's the last one. I've done 2 of these already, but I always love doing the masterclasses. We always have a lot of fun. So I hope you're ready to learn. So I expect that a lot of you on here are sort of at that process where you're thinking about starting a business. And possibly you don't know where to start, or maybe you don't have the confidence and it all kind of seems like this impossible task at the moment. And that's absolutely fine, because those are most of the people that we deal with. You all have the same things holding you back. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Kylie. I'm the CEO of the Wedding Academy, and in a previous life, too many years ago to mention, I was a wedding planner and designer myself as well. So this masterclass, it's not going to be you doing all the listening and me doing all the talking. I want you to really be engaged. I want you to learn. I want you to get value. I want you to have a good time. So I hope you're ready, because I've got a lot to share with you today. So let's get going. All right. Quick question. I always like to start off with a question because it warms you guys up. It's always really good for me as well to know who's in my audience and whereabouts you kind of fit into the grand scheme of things. So tell me, are you a newbie or are you a pro? Okay, so Lucy's saying she's a bit of both. Carly's a newbie. This is good. Keep it coming. I love knowing whereabouts you guys are. Okay, so we've got quite a few newbies popping up in the chat, which is absolutely fine, and a bit of both as well. Okay, total newbie there from Fasea as well. Bit of both from Ingrid. Fantastic. So you're all kind of at that same point, which makes it so much easier. So some of you may have done our mini course, not all of you, but some of you. And if you have, you'll have heard me ask this question again. But again, it really helps me to understand how you've come into the wedding industry. So you will not believe the amount of our students that fall into the wedding industry after they started planning their own wedding. So they kind of just fell in love with the whole process and the idea after planning their own. So maybe that one sounds like you. Or another one is that it's about wanting to be creative. It's about wanting to work with colors and florals and decor and lighting, but you don't have any idea where to start. So we hear this one quite a bit too. Or potentially It's because you're stuck in a job that you've just kind of fallen into. You want to really do it because it pays the bills, but you really want a career that's creative and one that's flexible. And I know that was definitely the case for Martha, who's on here this evening. She wanted a creative career. She wasn't getting married at the time. So maybe you can relate to that one. And then, of course, it wouldn't be right if I didn't include TV shows and films. I mean, show me somebody that hasn't watched one of the wedding movies and gone, oh, I want to be a wedding planner. You know, I just love Father of the Bride. I think it's possibly one of my all-time favorite movies. So maybe that's one that you can relate to as well. So let me know in the chat box if any of those that you can relate to. Do you sound like any of those? Were you a bride who fell in love with planning weddings? You know, is it that you want to be creative? Is it that you want a change of career? Or do you just love the movies? Or is it all of them? Let me know in the chat box so I can see. Yeah, yes to all the last three, Kelly's saying. Yeah, you see Kim saying, I love planning my own wedding, but I also want to be my own boss. That's so much like so many of the people that we have joining us at the Academy. So I think you'll probably be relieved to see how many of you are all thinking the same sort of thing. All right. So when you signed up for this webinar, I did actually mention that you'd be getting a bonus as well for attending the live masterclass. And you do, don't worry, I'm going to keep my promise. However, you're actually going to have to work for it because I need you to commit to staying to the end of the training to get the bonus. You've invested this far, and I really want to make sure that you get something valuable out of this and you learn. So hang on in there, it will happen, but you have to stay to the end. All right, so before we get started, just a couple of little housekeeping things. I'd love it if you could turn your phone off, or if you can't turn it off, pick it up and turn it over so that you're not distracted by the, overwhelm of social media notifications that we all get. I want you to focus, because if you don't focus, you're not going to learn. So really pay attention for this next hour, and we'll do the Q&A at the end. I just have this habit of losing track when I start answering questions as I'm going along. So let's not go down that road. All right, and if your question is technical, related to anything technical, we've got Zoe, we've got Christine, and we've got Benita and Martha. They're all in the chat. They're all mentors at the Academy, and they're all here to answer any questions that you've got. You've probably seen them already starting to chat, so they're all there. All right, now that we've got that out the way, let's dive in. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of this. Okay, that was me when I was about 9 years old. And the reason I am showing you this picture, and I don't actually think I've changed that much. Maybe my hair's shorter and maybe I've grown a bit older, but I don't think I've changed so much. But the reason I'm showing you this is for you to understand that none of us were born into the wedding industry. We didn't just wake up and decide that we were going to be in the wedding industry. I was that little girl that literally used to spend her days hosting weddings with her dolls. I used to pull neck curtains over my head and pretend it was a veil. And I also used to spend hours playing with my mum's crockery and arranging tables for any dinner parties she had as well. Like, I was obsessed. I loved it. I was completely and utterly obsessed with decor and linen and that type of thing. But I didn't start off that way. I actually started life as a classical musician. I trained at the Royal College of Music, and I do still love playing piano and violin to this day. But I definitely was passionate about it, but there was something missing for me. So much to my parents' horror, I decided to leave music behind me, and I took a job as an office assistant in a London events company, and it was a huge risk, because my parents had invested a fortune in my music career and I'd invested countless hours making it happen. But sometimes you've got to take a risk. If you're really passionate about something, you need to see whether or not it's for you. And that's what I did. And I've never looked back. Now, this beautiful young lady on screen is certainly not me. I would never look that good on ice. It's my daughter, Summer, and she is the why behind everything that I do. And if any of you have been in the VIP Facebook group, you'll have heard me talk about your why, and it's really important, and we're going to talk about it later on. But it was when she was 7 years old that I decided to retire from the wedding industry as an active planner and designer and launch the Academy. Summer was a figure skater, she was going places, she was representing Britain, and I basically spent my life by the side of a freezing cold ice rink. And it was at that time when I was living in Australia that the Academy was born, and we produced our very first course. And then, by the side of many other freezing cold ice rinks, it developed into what it is now, which is basically an online training company where we combine live training with lots of audio and video content, and we certify planners and stylists from around the world. So now that's over, and now you know who I am and who the Academy is. Let's get started with this masterclass. So the idea of this is I've designed it to help you start thinking more in depth about what it's like to run a wedding business and how you can align yourself with your target audience so you get more clients. Now, the biggest question I get from people looking to come into the industry, and I get emails every day from people looking to get started, and their biggest question to me is, how do I get clients? What do I do? Where do I start? Well, I can tell you right now, it isn't by simply designing a logo or getting a website or going to wedding fairs. Yes, that comes into it, but you have to build the foundations on which your business stands before you can do any of that. You know, at the end of the day, without clients, you've got nothing more than an expensive hobby, and that's not good for anyone. So that's why I want to share this 8-step process with you. And it's a process I use with the students at the Academy. It's one I teach live over 8 weeks. It's part of our flagship course, the Wedding Business Launchpad, but I'm going to talk more about that later. Right now, I want to go into detail about these 8 steps because I've designed them over 12 years of teaching, and they work. They will transform your wedding business so that you don't struggle and you can actually get clients and you can be profitable, which is the whole idea of this. So before we move on, I know you guys have told me that you're mainly newbies, but I want to know a little bit more. Is it still just an idea? Have you just got started? Are you, because some of you said you were sort of in between newbie and pro, so whereabouts are you? Are you 1 to 3 years in, or are you an established pro who's been at this thing for about 5 years? Okay, so Kim's saying just getting started. Oh, Jem's got 1 wedding in, fantastic. Martha, we know, is at 2 years. Still an idea. Yolanda's saying 1 year. Okay, so you're kind of like a cross section between just getting started and still an idea, with a few of you saying 1 to 3 years in. Fab. That's really good. That really gives me a good idea as to where you guys are at. Okay, no experience from Florence. That's not a problem. Okay, so Natalie's saying always did corporate events, but I'm in the crossroad. Nothing is moving. Okay, well, let's see if we can change that for you. All right, so 8-step formula or blueprint. Let's have a look at it. Now, the key behind this is that it doesn't just include getting published on wedding blogs, doing styled shoots, posting on social media, or writing amazing blog posts. Now, of course, all of those things do come into it as part and parcel of your overall strategy, but on their own, without the steps I'm going to go through, they just don't work. They're part of a much bigger plan, and that's what I'm going to break down for you, because to attract clients to your wedding business now in this day and age, it takes more than posting and praying. There's got to be a strategy behind what you're doing. It requires research, it requires time and effort, and there's no quick fixes. But spend the time getting it right and you'll be amazed at the results. Okay, so on screen right now, you should better see the 8 steps that I'm referring to. And don't worry if they don't make sense right now, because I'm going to go through each one individually in quite a bit of detail. This is just a bit of an overview. So number 1 is your business vision. And this is what I referred to earlier when I was talking about the why behind what you do. So like I said, if any of you have been in the VIP Masterclass Facebook group, and if you're not in it, I'm sure Zoe or Chris or Benita can share the link and you can still join. I've been doing a few little bits of training in there to get you warmed up for this masterclass. And one of the big things I got you to do was to do a vision board, because that vision board helps you to understand the why behind what you do. And I'm going to go into it in a bit more detail in a minute. Step 2 is finding your niche. Now, you've got to narrow down what you do so it's specific to your client. And quite honestly, finding a niche is a real catchphrase right now, but with really good reason, because niching helps people find you. But more importantly, it helps the right people to find you. So that's the important part here. Then there's something called your ideal client. And I talk about this all the time. I'm absolutely obsessed with finding your ideal client, because your ideal client is that person who completely and utterly gets you and what you do. And as a planner, not every couple is going to be right for you. I hate to break it to you, but just because you plan weddings or style weddings doesn't mean every single couple out there are going to be the right people for you. You know, it's like you have a really personal conversation with somebody, but when you find your ideal client, you're actually having that personal conversation with quite a few people. And that's what you're able to do when you know and understand who your ideal client is. And like I say, please don't panic. I'm going to give you some examples of all of this in a minute. This is just an overview. All right, so step number 4. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to do that. Step number 4, this is jumping around all over the place. I do beg your pardon. All right, is the emotional journey. So this is your story. So it's the story behind what you do. And then we weave that story into your brand. So it becomes the story we tell people about your brand. And it's the story that's going to act as an emotional trigger between you and your ideal client. Then step number 5 is all about competitive research and your audience. And in this step, we take a deeper look into your competitors and we look for areas of opportunity. And we also create something really cool called the Emotionally Driven Survey. I'm going to tell you more on that in a moment. Then step number 6 is your client experience. And this is quite simply the journey your clients go on with you from the first moment they come across your brand to literally their first wedding anniversary. And yes, we do take it that far. If you're smart, you take it that far. And then step 7 is pricing. Now, you might be surprised to see pricing so far down on the list, but in all honesty, until you've got all of those other steps worked out, you can't actually set the prices for your services. So you need to have those other 6 steps in place first of all. And then finally, we have got the sales funnel. And yeah, I know, sales funnels, they kind of sound a bit techie, a bit boring. But honestly, believe me, when I say your sales funnel is going to be the key to your marketing. And it's what brings clients to your door. And not just any clients, but the clients that really want to work with you. So those are the steps. So let's have a look at each of them in a little bit more detail. Just bear with me, I just need a quick glass of water. It's thirsty work doing all this talking. All right, so step 1, finding your business vision, or as I call it, finding your why. So, you know, it's funny, even from a really young age, we intuitively know the motive behind an action. It's the most important piece of the story. It always is. And we knew it as kids and we know it now. And when it comes to your wedding business, whether you've already launched or if you're still in the just thinking about it phase, knowing your why, it's going to help you stay committed to your dreams. And it's going to help others get on board with it too. And there's lots of reasons why people want to become their own boss. And I'm not going to go into all of them now, but they basically have one thing in common. At the core, they're literally all about freedom. And that freedom comes in lots of different forms. So it might be the freedom to be in charge and make the decisions. It might be the freedom to be creative. It might be the freedom to do what you love, or it might be that literal freedom to work your own hours so that you can go pick your kids up from school. What is it that drives you? And the reason probably isn't money, or at least it shouldn't be. And you know what? There is a reason why career counselors around the globe ask the same question. And that is, if money was no object, what would you do? Because money isn't enough. You know, as the one in charge, yes, you set your own standards, you're in charge, you set the targets. And although there is a freedom without having anyone standing in your way, and it can be really invigorating, trust me, the stress of knowing that there is nobody else to blame if things go wrong can be a little bit much and it can be a bit overwhelming. And this is when your why becomes imperative. And if you're not 100% committed to making your vision a reality, it won't be. You've got to nurture it through its, you know, you're going to have growing pains in your business, and your why will help you get through that. So this, you'll get to know me after a while, but I'm a bit of a quote girl. And this is probably one of my favorite quotes because it is so powerful when it comes to your wedding business. And, you know, once you get your head around this, it will make all the difference. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. They don't care about your product or service. They care about the result that your product or service is going to give them. So they have a problem or a challenge with their wedding, and you are the solution. So it's about how what you do is making them feel. And in all honesty, the way people sell now, it's completely changed. There's no hard sell anymore. Forget about the whole, cheesy car salesman thing where, it was awful. That's dead and buried. Selling now is all about making an emotional connection. And if you decide to become a student at the Academy and really see this thing through and make a success of your wedding business, you're going to hear me say this all the time. Selling is about building an emotional connection. Seriously, I can't honestly emphasize that any more than I have. So if selling is all about making an emotional connection, then what's your wedding brand going to do for your potential client? Well, let's take Tiffany. We all love Tiffany at the end of the day, don't we? So let's take that as an example. It's one of my favorite brands. Now, it isn't because their products are particularly superior. It's about the entire experience. When you go into a Tiffany store, you know what you're going to get. And you kind of just want to be a part of that experience. And I know for me, I love the packaging. I love the color. I love how it makes me feel. And rightly or wrongly, it makes me feel like I'm that part of the magical Audrey Hepburn world at breakfast at Tiffany's. And there it is. Tiffany's have made me feel something. I don't care about how their product is made. I don't care about what went into their product because I'm not buying into that. I'm buying into the feeling that it gives me. That's what you do when you build an emotional connection, and that is what you have to do with your wedding business. So step 2 is finding your niche. Now, if you don't know what a niche is, it's really quite simple. It's basically the process of defining a product or service that's going to appeal to a really small, specialized section of the market. Now, you might be thinking, oh, well, that's all very well, but if I target a really small, specialized section of the market, my bookings are going to decline because I'm only targeting a really small group of people. Yeah, that's actually not true. Because what you're doing is you're actually attracting clients who are so interested in what you offer that they will absolutely pay premium for what you do because they're invested in those services that you've got. So let me give you an example. Think about a florist. As a florist, you're going to be in competition with several hundred other florists in your market. So what makes you different? Do you maybe grow native flowers on your farm? Do you maybe do paper flowers and bouquets? Do you do foam-free florals? Now, as a wedding planner, maybe you are a sustainable wedding planner. In other words, you plan eco-conscious weddings and that's your client. So everything you do is aimed at the eco-conscious couple, those people who want to have a sustainable wedding. Well, that would be your niche. So do you see how that works? And I'm telling you right now, telling clients or potential clients that you provide excellent customer service and you're going to meet their needs in every single way and you're going to do whatever it takes to make their day 100% perfect, it doesn't cut it. It's crap. You know why? Because every other business tells them the same thing. And as a planner, that's kind of a given. That is what you should be doing for your couples. They've all heard that line 100 times before. It doesn't make you stand out. If you want to increase bookings and you want to generate more sales, you've got to be really, really clear and focused, not only on what makes you unique, but who you want to help. Now, to say that you want to help brides and grooms, it's too general. I told you that at the beginning, and it's going to set you up for failure. You have to find your niche. That is imperative. And the key to remember here is that although you are selling your services to couples, you can't sell to all couples. Why not? Well, it would kind of be like me saying, I'm going to open a restaurant, and in that restaurant, I'm actually going to serve Italian, Indian, Chinese, Japanese, all in the same kitchen. Wouldn't work. And the same applies to weddings. That is why finding your niche is so important. And that really leads us quite nicely onto step 3, which is your ideal client. So who is your ideal client? Now you know what your niche is. You have to understand the type of couple that are going to be attracted to that niche. So, and I don't mean just a really vague notion of who they are. I mean knowing them really, really well, intimately even. So you know everything from the restaurants they like to eat at, the language they use in their text messages. You've got to know their innermost wants, their desires, their fears, their needs. To really know your ideal client, you need to step into their shoes. You need to take a look at their day-to-day existence. So to find your ideal client, you've got to identify them. So start by brainstorming things about them. The really obvious things like age, income, where they live, where they work, what they like to do in their spare time. Think about what motivates them and what their style is. So the way I always like to look at it is imagine that you're researching the lead character in a new book, and you need to know everything there is to know about that lead character. Where would you start? To really know that ideal client of yours, you need to start asking questions. What does your ideal client eat? What do they look like? What are their hobbies? Where do they hang out? Where do they live? What's their salary? What brands do they buy? You've got to get inside your ideal client's head. And then once you've done that, you need to create a client persona, which is really just like a fictional representation of who your ideal client is. And I name mine, but one of the ways you could do this is imagine you're on a dating website. We've all done it. Let's not lie. We've all written our own dating profile. Tell me you haven't. Right, maybe I have, maybe I haven't. I might not divulge that one, but imagine you're writing a dating profile on your ideal client. What would you say about them? Or how would you describe them to somebody else? Think about it that way. So my ideal client, she's called Kate, and I have written a backstory on Kate because I want to know everything about her. I know how she was brought up. I know what her parents think. I know what job she has. I know what makes her tick. I know how she likes to spend her spare time. I know about all her challenges and her worries and her fears, etc., etc. Why do I do that? Because you want to bring your ideal client to life so that you can really start to imagine everything they're thinking and feeling about their wedding. That is how you build an emotional connection. Now, it might sound far-fetched, but the days of simple selling where you send somebody an email and they basically book an appointment with you, they're long gone. Doesn't work like that anymore. People want to build a connection with you. And if you're wondering what we're going to do with all this fabulous information, then that's a really good question too, because you use this information to write your website copy, to write your blog articles, your social media posts, so you can emotionally connect in literally everything that you do. So I hope I'm getting through to you here. All right, step number 4 is your emotional journey. And that's kind of the journey that you take your clients on. And really, in today's social media driven world, we all want to know the person behind the brand. We want to know their story. We want to know their values. We want to know what drives them. Tell me you haven't watched something like Big Brother when it was out because you want to know what's going on, or Keeping Up with the Kardashians, or Made in Chelsea, or, Footballers' Wives, or, any of those things where you're getting a look inside other people's lives. We all do it. And in all honesty, because we work on such a personal level with our clients, we do need to get that personal with them. Like I said, your bridal clients, they want to know why you do what you do. As Simon Sinek said, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And I hope I'm sounding like a broken record right now because I really want you to take this away. People connect with stories. And your ideal clients want to be able to connect with you. They want to have that moment of absolute clarity where they go, oh my God, she really gets me. It's like she's inside my head. But how can they have that moment if they don't know your brand story? You've got to create that emotional connection. And you absolutely have to avoid stereotypical copy such as, we create amazing weddings for the discerning bride. For a start, who's we? If you are a solo wedding planner, tell your story in the first person. Make it real, build that connection. For example, in my story, I tell people how from a little girl, I helped my mum when she hosted dinner parties and I'd pull out every plate, glass, a flatware item, napkin that she owned. I'd pick flowers from the garden and literally spend hours turning our dining room into an amazing space. Weddings and design are in my blood. That is how you tell a story that connects with your audience. So step 5, do you mind if I just take another sip of water? My throat's getting dry again. All right, so step 5 is competitive research. So it's all very well doing all this lovely funky stuff that I've just told you about, but we've got to validate who your ideal client is. And we want to get the words directly from the horse's mouth. So let's start with competitive research. So whether we like it or not, we have to do the research on our competitors. We need to know what they're doing. You cannot leave this part to chance because it is a very important piece of the puzzle. Now, absolutely, I do not advocate you copying them. Absolutely not. That's not what this is about. What this is about is getting to know what you're up against and how you can do it differently or how you can do it better. Plus, it'll help you to identify if there's any gaps in your local area, and it might help to identify, where you can be a trailblazer. You know, being the same as everybody else out there, it's not going to get you noticed. It's boring. You don't want to be the same as every other wedding planner or stylist or designer out there. I don't want to be the same as every other course provider out there. So I know what makes me uniquely different, and you need to find that same thing. People will buy you. Nobody else can be you. And that is a really important thing to remember. So this step, it also includes something I mentioned earlier, which is called the emotionally driven survey. And it's where I show you how to validate your ideas about your ideal client. How do we do that? We send out a survey. And this survey goes out to people who, if you're already in business, you can send it out to your actual clients. If you're not, we send it out to potential clients. And don't worry, I've got a trick for that as well. And what it does is it really helps you to cement everything you think you know about your ideal client, because you get their words, you get their language, so you get to understand how they describe what you do. Notice I'm not saying how you describe what you do, because trust me, the way someone else describes what you do is very different from how you do, because you're going to use words and jargon that they don't understand and that don't emotionally connect. So you want to get a very clear understanding through this strategy. And once you know this, oh my God, it's like finding the Holy Grail. It is that magic sauce that makes every recipe taste fantastic. I'm into my cookbooks at the moment, so everything's about recipes and sauces and stuff like that. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, so number 6, I have to say, this is my favorite part. And I think the reason it's my favorite part is because you can really make it your own. You can really make this part of it sort of unique to you. And the phrase client experience, it's used a lot in the wedding industry because so much of what we do is about personalization and those really small details. So quite simply, a client experience is literally just the journey that your bridal couple go on with you when they choose to engage with you or interact with you. And it doesn't matter whether that's as a potential client or a client. It's all the same. It is about from that moment when they first see your website or see you on social media or receive one of your emails, they have to be wowed. That's where the client experience begins. And a good client experience, it starts before they become a client and it never really ends. It goes into overdrive, obviously, once they sign on the dotted line. And it's about how you can make that experience unique. And more importantly, it's about how you're going to make them shout about how wonderful you are and give you those amazing reviews and testimonials. Because I'm telling you right now, testimonials, word of mouth still trumps every other form of advertising. And this is how you do it. So do you want to know what's in a client experience? Well, I kind of designed my own over the years. And for me, I've split it down into 5 parts. And the first part is fairly obvious. It's called the first look. And it's where your potential client experiences their first touch point with your brand. And as I say, that might be seeing you on Instagram for the first time. It might be seeing a pin on Pinterest. It might be reading a blog post. It might be seeing you, one of your weddings on a blog. It could be anything, but it's the first look. It's the first touch point somebody has with you. So everything that you do needs to be consistent. Everything that you do needs to be on brand and have that same messaging. That's what you need to be thinking about with the first look. The second part of this is the inquiry process. Now, you will be amazed how many websites I have looked at where it's almost impossible to find the book a consultation button, or however you want to put it, and they've buried it at the bottom of their website. Don't make your clients work hard to make an inquiry with you. Make it really easy for them. Everything should be seamless, straightforward, and easy. And this is the point where you have to get back to them with a really timely response. Nobody wants to wait hours to hear from you. And if this means putting together something that is automated, then do it so that they're not left waiting in the dark thinking, did she receive my email or didn't she receive my email? No, that's not part of a good client experience. Then number 3 is the booking procedure. And this part absolutely should be seamless. No excuses. Once they tell you that they're hiring you, get that contract out with all the information they could possibly need straight away. And in this day and age, don't make them print out a contract and sign it and scan it and email it back. Do it electronically. There are lots and lots of programs out there that can manage it for you. So all they have to do is click a button that says sign here, bang, you're done. Make it easy. Don't put them off. You have no idea how many people lose the sale at the point of the signing of the contract. So make it easy for them. It's why it is part of the client experience. Then there's the client journey. Now, once they have signed on the dotted line with you, this is where your client experience goes into overdrive and it goes on steroids. Now, when I was a wedding planner, I literally mapped out the entire client experience from the moment they booked their first consultation with me to when they had their first wedding anniversary and all the points in between. I had little gift ideas, I had touch points throughout, had all sorts of wonderful things that were included as part of my client journey once they'd booked with me. And it was this that used to make them shout from the rooftops. And I've got lots of amazing ideas to share with you if you become a student with the Academy on how you can do this. And trust me, it's actually not rocket science. And then, of course, the final part of this is after the wedding. Now, just because the wedding is over, it doesn't mean that your client's journey with you should be. Get your marketing hat on. Think about this. You can remember their first wedding anniversary, their birthdays, diarize them straight away so that you don't forget, because those little touch points, when you post on social media and you say, happy first wedding anniversary, and you tag them in, you're just getting yourself exposure all over again for a client you worked with a year ago. It takes 5 seconds of your time, but it's all part of the client experience. You just want to make sure that they are still together and it wasn't one of those god-awful weddings where they split up. Let's hope not. But always check that first of all. Just word to the wise there. Just make sure that you've done that. So moving on to step number 7 is pricing. Okay, so pricing is one of those things where most newbies fall down, because what they do is they think, I'd like to earn X out of this. And they just pluck a figure out of the air. There is no strategy or plan behind it. And I know I've sat down with a fair few planners in my time. And when we've gone through how many hours and all the things that they've put in, it's worked out that actually they're working less than if they were working at McDonald's. So pricing is important. And at the Academy, we have a dedicated pricing section with templates and worksheets and calculation indicators and example planning packages that you can go make your own. But ultimately, it comes into researching and knowing your niche, which is why we covered these steps earlier, because research is the big key to this. You need to know and understand your marketplace. This includes the geographical area as well. So let's think about it. If you're based in London and you're a wedding planner, then you're going to charge a very different price to somebody who's based in Leeds, for example. Or if you're in New York, you would charge a different price to somebody in Houston. If you're in Sydney, you'd charge a different price to somebody in country Victoria, like Bendigo. You know, it does come into it, and it's got nothing to do with the quality of service, but it's got everything to do with geographical location. And you also need to have a very real understanding of your target market. What will that target market withstand? Who are you selling to? Is your service aimed at vintage brides? Are you a luxury wedding planner? Are you doing destination weddings? You know, are you doing pop-up weddings? What is it that you're doing? The list goes on. But you really need to understand who your couple are so that you can realistically set your pricing around your services based on all of that research. So now we come on to the final step, and that is the sales funnel. And honestly, it isn't as scary as it sounds, because a sales funnel is simply a place to funnel a lead from A to B. So A would be where they land on your website, and B would be getting to the point where they want to book a consultation with you. That's all a sales funnel is. So let's use a social media post as an example. Let's say you've put a beautiful image on Instagram, and the call to action on that image is to go and download my free ebook from my website. So they land on your website, and in return for getting this free ebook, they give you their name, telephone number, and email address. Fantastic. And then the funnel part, that's the top part of the funnel where they come in. Then the rest of it, you have to decide the journey that you want to take them on as you build that know, like, trust factor with them. That's all it is. That's what a sales funnel is. And if you look at this on screen right now, it might look scary, but honestly, it's not. It's just a simple diagram of what a sales funnel can look like. And this is an email sales funnel. So at the beginning, you've got traffic. That traffic could come from Instagram, it could come from anywhere. But then they go to a landing page, and a landing page, that is simply the page that hosts your freebie or your ebook. Then they give you their name, their email address, their phone number, whatever. They download the ebook, and then they go into the funnel. And that funnel will serve them a series of emails. It might also have something in there that reminds you to call them at a certain point. That's all it is. Really, really simple. But it helps you to build the know, like, trust factor. Alrighty. So there you go. You have just officially been given a glimpse into just what goes into getting clients. Now, this isn't something that you can just trot out in a few hours. It does take work, but when you get it right, it is magical, because all those little pieces of the puzzle, they come together. And I think it's really important to acknowledge what's on screen right now, because I'm pretty much sure it's true about most of you. The greatest barrier through all of this is between you and success is yourself. And you have to remember that you can absolutely do this, because it is not about making massive changes all at once. It's about baby steps. It's about going at a pace you can handle, one step at a time. And if you do end up becoming a student at the Academy, you'll hear me say this a lot, because it's one of my favorite sayings. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither will your wedding business be. You have to have patience, and you've got to be willing to put in the hard work. All right, so I want to put this into context for you a little bit, because it's all very well for me to sit here and talk about it, but for you to really understand how it can happen, I want to showcase 3 of our students. And that wasn't very easy, because we've got about 4,000 plus students, but I just thought I'd pick 3 at random to talk to you about. So Krista is a mum. And Krista has 2 young children. And when I first came across Krista, she didn't really have a lot of confidence. She'd actually already started her business. She was in the first year of her business before she became a student. And she was doing all the things. So she was going to wedding fairs, she was advertising, and she was just, wishing somebody would book her and she could get her first client. Then she joined the Wedding Academy, and everything changed, because what she did was she got really super specific on her niche. She worked out her aesthetics. She knew what her values were. And then within 18 months, that's all, within 18 months, she had won the coveted title of Wedding Planner of the Year in the UK, because she's a UK student. And now she's got a diary full of weddings. She's had her work published in numerous magazines and blogs, and she's working with some of the top venues in her local area as a recommended stylist. But she started just like you guys. She had 0 confidence, no knowledge, nothing was working. And then she came and she implemented the steps that I've been teaching you today. Then there's Emma. Emma was, or is, based in Australia. And she had launched her business in Adelaide, and she was worried that she wasn't going to be able to attract an audience because she was in a really small town. And then she realized that actually it wasn't about the size of the place that she was in, but it was about the emotional connection that she needed to make in order to have things change. And once she did that, things started to turn around. After all, you don't need thousands of clients as a wedding planner. You just need a few full plan clients who really love and get what you do, and you're away. Then there's Chelsea. Now, Chelsea's different because Chelsea was a career girl. Chelsea had a huge career in the health industry, but she wasn't really very fulfilled. She wanted a creative career. So this girl has guts. She went from a really high-flying career in the health industry. She did a turnabout switch and came into the wedding industry, took the course, and now she has had countless opportunities. She's a bit of a go-getter. She loves doing lots of different things, but she's never looked back. And you know what? All three of these women have started exactly where you are right now. They didn't have any prior experience, and I know for a fact that Krista was really lacking in confidence, but they all had one thing in common. They took the risk, and they're just three out of so many who have been where you are. And last week, we were filming the International Wedding Trend Report. It's something that the Wedding Academy produces. And I invited 6 students to join me. And all 6 of them have either already launched their business or they're just about to launch their business. And when I spoke to them, none of them could believe how far they've come since starting with the Academy, because prior to that, it had just been a dream. One of them had been dreaming about it for 8 years. And then finally, she got the courage to enroll with us. Now she's launching her business in January. It's amazing. You know, for them though, it's been about the support, the knowledge and the guidance that comes from being part of a really strong community. And that is a big part of this. So it's over to you. I want to know if you are ready to follow in their footsteps. I'm asking you the question, are you ready to start living each day using your full potential, really loving your job and, you know, getting up in the morning with a spring in your step, feeling excited and motivated? I mean, I'm not going to lie, I don't wake up every morning with a spring in my step, but I do most of the time because I love what I do. You know, you've got to remember every student has been where you are now. You know, they've had the same fears and challenges as I did when I first started. I used to feel like that too, but if they can do it, so can you. And right now, I need you to stop getting in your own way. I need you to stop procrastinating because tomorrow never ever comes. And you don't want to be in the same place in a year's time in November 2020, wishing that you'd given it a go. So I'm going to ask you, and some of you are already doing this, and Lucy's saying, I already have and couldn't recommend it enough, albeit that it's taken me 2 years to actually get around to doing it. Yeah, fair enough, Lucy, not a problem. So actually typing it in the comments and committing to it is a really good first step. So I'm loving the fact that you're all saying that you're ready for it. So I want to introduce you to our flagship course, because this is the course for those of you that are looking to become a wedding planner, stylist or designer that we would love to have you on. And that's our Wedding Business Launchpad. And of course, it's Black Friday. So we're giving you, or it's not Black Friday yet, but it will be in 2 days' time. So we're giving you the chance to kickstart your career at a really special price. And we can't wait to have you as a student. So what is the Wedding Business Launchpad? Well, it's kind of like the complete package. It is everything you need to start your journey as a wedding planner. And it's the only course of its kind for the wedding industry that combines online learning with live tutorials and full mentor support. Nobody else does that. And there's also 8 weeks of live training with me, which starts at the end of January. But I do actually run this 3 times a year. So you can choose other times of the year to join in if you prefer. You can do all 3 if you want to. I have some people that come along all the time. And you also get access to our in-depth library of course content that you can dig into right now. And there are hundreds of videos that are there specifically to get you started. Then, of course, there's the ongoing mentoring and the support to get certified. So I did just want to touch on this before we finish off, because the way people learn right now in 2019 has changed. It's no longer about reading through textbooks. It's not about taking certificates or diplomas or sitting exams or passing or failing. That formal style of traditional education, it doesn't work in today's modern world. You know, a certificate hanging on your wall, it looks really nice to stare at, but it's not going to help you run a successful business. It's about the ability to implement what you learn and take action with that information. You've got to be able to implement it in the real business world. It's about having a plan, having a blueprint that actually works and allows you to take that next step with confidence, which is why we take a different approach to learning at the Academy. We give you a really modern, interactive way. So it's live, it's supportive, and it's interactive. I told you I love quotes. And this quote on screen is probably one of my favorites. I mean, who doesn't love Estee Lauder? And this was something she said: "I've never dreamed about success, I worked for it." So true, isn't it? Success doesn't just happen. It takes knowledge, it takes hard work, it takes a plan. But I'm telling you this, behind every successful wedding planner is a support network, cheering them on and willing them to succeed. So let the Academy be your support network. Let us provide you with the knowledge you need and help you put this success plan in place. So the Launchpad is broken down into 5 core learning streams: wedding planning, wedding styling, starting a business, marketing and getting clients, and then we have a bonus module, which is floral design. And it includes video tutorials, worksheets, handouts, cheat sheets, checklists, templates, everything that you could possibly need. So I'm going to switch my webcam off at the moment because I want you to be able to see exactly what you get. Wedding. So we dive really deep into all the elements that the role of a wedding planner covers, including how to work with a bridal couple, how to take their vision and their ideas and turn them into a reality, how to do budgets, how to design proposals, how to conduct consultations, all of that stuff, because it's really super important to be able to understand. Then there's the wedding styling stream. So styling is about the artistic eye. So we're going to immerse you in the aesthetics of wedding styling, and you'll start to understand how to use design tools. You're going to work with mood boards and create color swatches and choose fabrics and learn basically how to take a client's Pinterest board and turn it into a wedding with the wow factor. That is what design and styling is all about. Now, as I said, we do have a bonus module, which is the floral design module. Now, if you're like me and flowers wilt and die when they look at you, seriously, I'm dreadful with flowers, then you'll want to take this because it really gives you what you need in order to be able to understand how to talk about flowers with your clients. And you get techniques, practical demos, literally everything that you need to understand to be able to work with flowers. Now, this, for me, is probably the most important module, because if you don't know how to run a business, you're not going to get any clients. So it doesn't matter how good a planner you are or stylist you are if you can't get clients. So this is literally the A to Z of running and starting a wedding business. And in this module, we teach you the foundations. We use my 8-step formula to create your business plan, to price your services, to put together your packages and your offerings and understand contracts, everything you could possibly need to start and grow a profitable wedding business. Now, that's all wonderful, but unfortunately, if you don't market your wedding business, then you're not going to have any clients either. So we have got a full marketing section, and it isn't overwhelming or frustrating or any of those things, because we take you by the hand and we show you exactly how to market your business effectively. We give you the strategies that you can implement and really help you start to attract your ideal client and book more weddings. Now, we wouldn't be the Academy if we didn't give you some bonuses. And you know why I give you these bonuses? Because they're things that people ask us for regularly. So one of the big questions I get is, how can I get images for my new wedding business? If I've not done any weddings, where do I get images from? Well, that's where styled shoots come in. And if you don't know what a styled shoot is, it's basically a mock wedding where you get to work with all the wedding suppliers that you would normally work with, but there's no client. You are the client. So you get to have a lot more creative control. You get to keep the images, and you can either use those images for publication or you can use them on your website, whatever you decide to do. But there is an art to styled shoots. Martha and I were working on a styled shoot last week for the trend report. Actually, Martha was the brains behind it, not me. And she will tell you just how stressful it can be if you don't know what you're doing. So Style Shoots 101 is one of our bonuses. Then something else we get asked about a lot is, how do I put together a proposal? Well, what we've done is we've created a customizable proposal template. Literally all you need to do is add your branding and personalize it, and you're ready to go. Now, obviously, because we are the trend company, we do the International Wedding Trend Report, it'd be a little bit rude if we didn't give you a masterclass on how to use trends in your wedding business. So that's what we've done. And the best part about all of this, you've got the Wedding Academy team behind you every step of the way. And like I say, we've been doing this 12 years now. And we've had over 4,000 students go through our doors. So this means you can tap into the collective knowledge of our Academy mentors at any time. You've got Christine, who is in Australia and covers New Zealand as well. What she doesn't know about planning weddings and running a business isn't worth knowing. You've got Zoe, who covers the UK and Europe, and Zoe still runs her wedding business, as does Christine. The I Do crew is Christine's, Cherish Weddings is Zoe's. You've also got Benita, who covers the United States, Canada, and South Africa, and she is an absolute whiz on all things sales, marketing, and networking. You also have access to Lisa, who is based in New Zealand and is an award-winning stylist. You've got access to Martha, who is an alumni and also our brand manager, and constantly helping our students all of the time. So you have access to all of that. So very briefly, this is what you get on top of all of the modules that I've spoken about. So we've got the 8 weeks of live training, which I run 3 times a year. You can join in all of the sessions, you can join in one, but everything is recorded so that if you miss something, it's not a problem. They're very, very practical sessions, and I go through the 8 steps in detail and show you how to do them. Then we have mentor sessions. So every week in our Facebook group, one mentor will jump into the group and deliver some training. And it's really wide and varied. It can be on anything from how to get published, to starting your Instagram, to doing styled shoots, to contracts, to doing consultations. Literally, there is one every week. And you can also see all of the back training that we've done as well, because we keep it in the Facebook group. There's worksheets, and these worksheets are really important because it's all very well having the information, but if you don't implement the information that you learn, it's not going to be helpful. So you have to implement that information. And those worksheets are at the end of every single video within the business and the marketing section. And we've got a lot in the planning and styling sections as well. And then, of course, there is the global certification. So we are recognized worldwide because we're a global company, and because we've been going for a long time. Both myself and the mentors were well known in the industry because we also publish things like the International Wedding Trend Report and the Wedding Business Magazine. People know who we are. So a certification with us opens doors for you, which is hugely important. So I'm going to share the Launchpad link into the chat box right now, so you should be able to see that. And I'm just going to carry on. But one of the things we love at the Academy are action takers. And I want you to get started. I want you to stop holding yourself back and procrastinating. So to help you, I'm giving you some incentives and I'm giving you some extra bonuses, because I think that way it will stop you from procrastinating. But these bonuses have a time limit, and they're only available for those of you who have registered and attended the masterclass, which is you guys. So if you enroll fairly fast, that's why it's called a fast action bonus, you will be eligible to join me on a goal setting and productivity masterclass, which is for 20 people only. And this is hugely powerful because it gets you motivated, it gets you setting goals, and it helps you stay productive. But what it also does is it holds you accountable. So if you're somebody that needs accountability, you're going to love this. There's going to be 2 time slots offered, and of course it will be a recorded session, so you'll be able to watch it afterwards. But it is a fast action bonus and the clock is ticking. We also have a 48-hour bonus, which is business in a box. So business in a box is basically a toolkit of all of the admin stuff you need to run your wedding planning business. And as you can see on screen, it's got a swipe file of 10 emails. It's got cheat sheets. It's got timelines, consultation forms. It's got questionnaires to use with vendors. It's got rental spreadsheets. It is literally everything you need to run the admin side of your business. But it disappears in 48 hours. And then one more bonus is if you're able to pay in full, you will also get our 10 steps to launching your wedding business masterclass, which comes complete with a workbook. And it literally gives you all the steps you need to start your business, from picking a name to picking an accountant, and everything in between. All right, so finally, on the screen right now, you can see a screenshot of the website. And right now, our prices have gone up. But for this masterclass, we've reduced them back down. In 2020, the prices will be higher. This is your last chance to actually get the course at this price. And if you see the little green arrow on the screen, you can actually choose which currency you want to pay in. And we offer US dollars, Australian dollars, euros, and obviously GBP. So it depends on where you're based as to what currency you choose. So all you do is click that select currency and choose your currency from the drop down. It's really, really simple. And of course, if you don't want to pay in full, we've got payment plans. So you can choose 6 months or 12 months. And in all honesty, it's less than a daily Starbucks to get started on this dream of running your own wedding business. So seriously, don't mess around on this. You really need to take action. Now, okay. You guys have been amazing. You haven't dropped out. You've been absolutely brilliant. You've hung in there with me. So it is time now for me to share the freebie bonus. And I am sharing it right now in the chat. So you should be able to see that. Let me know if you can't see it, but you should be able to see it and you should be able to start downloading it. There you go. So that is a thank you from me to you for being fantastic. All right. So I'll put my webcam back on. Bear with me a moment. Okay, so I'm going to do the Q&A side of things now, but we tend to get a lot of questions that are personal to one specific person. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work my way through some of the questions we get all of the time. And then what I'm going to suggest that you do is contact your regional mentor and set up a time to talk to them if you've got further questions, and they can help you put together a game plan for you for moving forward, and really helping you one-on-one. I can't do that here because it's just not possible, but what I can do is answer some of the questions we get all the time from everybody. So one of the questions we get is, what if I'm working full-time? How can I make this work? Well, for the majority of our students, that's exactly what they're all doing. They're all working full-time, and they do the course alongside whilst they're working, because it takes the pressure off financially, and it gives them time to work through the content and implement it without that worry of having to make money from the business straight away. So we encourage you to do this alongside your full-time job to start off with. And the worst thing you can do is rush through the content, because that's when things go wrong. And you don't want to have the worry of making a success of your business from the offset. You know, you've got a great opportunity to do it right the first time. And once you do launch your business, you'll hit the ground running without that financial pressure. Another question, excuse me, sorry, I just needed to take a sip of that, we get is, I don't feel confident about starting my own business. Well, that's fine. Why would you? You've never done this before. Nobody does. And you're not alone, and we've got you covered. You know, obviously we do show you how to plan and style and design weddings, but we're not like other training providers in the fact that that isn't our major focus. Our major focus is the business side of things. So we start off with that. We start off with showing you how to launch and grow a business, because like I said, without clients, you'll have no weddings to plan and no business to run. And you know what? Nobody is confident straight out the gate, but that's where knowledge comes in. Knowledge builds confidence. And we have a step-by-step approach. We take you by the hand and we show you exactly what you need to do and how to do it. And what happens is you build your confidence along the way. And then once you've completed those business and marketing modules, you're going to be ready to launch your wedding business. And at that point, you can really start to dive into the nitty-gritty of the planning and styling side of things. So another one we get is, I don't know where to start. Well, that's absolutely fine, because we do know where to start. And you know what? That's the bonus of working with us. We help you get started because we've all been where you are now. Like I said, we've helped over 4,000 students just like you get started straight away. And it's because we've got a plan, we have a blueprint, and it works. Why? Because we've honed it over a long period of time. It's not something I've just thrown together and I hope is going to work. It's a plan that I've used in my own business. Like I said, you know, our only focus, we're very different from our competitors in the fact that we are full-time training. We are not wedding planners who do this on the side. Our only focus is training you. We are 100% here for you. Yes, our mentors still work in the industry, but the Wedding Academy is a full-time training company. There is always somebody to help you, to support you, to guide you. Now, another question is, what if I don't get any clients? Oh my goodness, I have had this so many times, and I get it, I understand it. You know, the wedding landscape has changed over the last few years, and it's no longer, as I've been saying, about advertising your services on a blog or posting some pictures on social media. That is a tiny piece of the puzzle. You know, what we teach you at the Academy includes putting a foolproof strategy together. As you know, we go deep into the psyche of your niche, your ideal client, your blue ocean strategy. We focus on desires, needs, wants, and we give you the processes to follow through on how to reach those clients, how to communicate with them. We give you all the tools to use to implement what you learn. And it's this strategy that sees students go on to run successful businesses and really work with clients that fit their personality and the style of the weddings they love to plan. What I can tell you, though, is there isn't a quick fix. I can't wave a magic wand and make it happen like this. You've got to put in the work, you've got to put in the time, and you've got to give it the energy. But I can promise you this, if you do those things, lack of clients is not going to be your issue. Now, another question I get is around planning versus styling. So a lot of people will say, I'm not sure whether I'm a planner or a stylist. What do I do? Do I have to do everything? No, you don't. So yes, you receive access to all of our planning modules, all of our styling and design content, but you choose the areas you want to study. But I'll tell you this, more often than not, we get a lot of people say things like, oh, I know I'm a planner, I'm not going to like the styling units. And then they come to me afterwards and they say, actually, I think I'm more of a stylist than I am a planner. It's hilarious. So don't rule anything out. You don't have to complete everything. It is up to you what you complete. You design your own experience and your own education. We give you everything because we don't want to dictate to you what you should learn and what you shouldn't learn. But at the end of the day, it is up to you. But what I would advise you to do is to give everything a try. And if you don't like it, don't do it. And remember, you've got lifetime access to this course content. You cannot fall behind. It's not going anywhere. Another question, how long will it take me to complete the course? Well, like I say, you've got lifetime access to the course, so you can literally take it one step at a time and at your own speed. And, you know, the live sessions start at the end of January. That will help you to fast track things. But the bonus is you're already going to be ahead because you'll have already dug into the actual course content itself. And I absolutely recommend with starting the business units, do that first of all. And realistically, if you've got like 4 hours a week to spare, then you're going to get up and running pretty quickly. But be an active part of the community. That's the biggest thing I can tell you. We have an amazing student Facebook group. So take advantage of it. It's where all of our students hang out, it's where all of our mentors hang out. And it really helps you to get through everything. So don't be a stranger in there. Really take advantage of that Facebook group and of all the support that you get as part of it. And then finally, a question I get quite a bit is, when can I get started? Straight away. You don't have to wait. As soon as you've enrolled and you've made your first payment, if you're on a payment plan, we don't make you wait till you've finished all your payments. As soon as you've made a payment, you will receive your login details and you'll get access to the student Facebook group and your course materials. And let's face it, you can study over Christmas as well. I mean, Boxing Day has to be the most boring day known to man because nothing happens. It's that day after Christmas Day, isn't it? You could be sitting there studying your course and, hitting the ground running in 2020. So that pretty much covers the questions I get most of the time. Now, I know those questions were quite generic, but as I said, it's a little bit difficult for me to answer personal questions on this masterclass because it's not going to be relevant to anyone else. So if you've got burning questions that you want answered, please contact your regional mentor. I know there's been a lot of chat going on in the chat box, and I'm sure that Zoe, Benita, and Christine will share their personal calendar links so that you can book a chat with them. It's a free chat, but it will help you to really put a plan together. It will help you to focus on what you want, get those questions answered, and ultimately get you started. So Zoe, Chris, Benita, I hope you're sharing your links to book an appointment with you in the chat. And honestly, I can't wait to work with you guys. This is your time now. No more holding yourself back, no more procrastinating, no more getting in your own way. It is time to take action, and that's what I want you to do right now. Be an action taker and make sure you're one of those 20 people who get my Fast Action Masterclass bonus. And make sure you nab business in a box as well, the 48-hour bonus. But more importantly, don't be sat here in November 2020 in the same space that you're in now. Please don't do that. Make sure that you take action. If you're passionate about this and this is something that you want to do, give yourself that opportunity, take that risk. Let's do it together. You've got me and you've got the entire Academy team behind you. So on that positive note, I am going to say thank you for being an absolutely amazing audience. I love it when you guys get involved and you sit in the chat and you ask questions. It's the best way to learn. So thank you. And I cannot wait to see you as part of the Wedding Business Launchpad. So go. Off you go. It's time to enroll. Go and get those bonuses and kickstart 2020 in the best way possible. And thank you so much. I have had a wonderful time this evening talking to you all. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you've got any other questions, as I say, book that time with your mentor or tag me in the Facebook group. Ow, I just hit my finger on something then. I think I'm getting tired. It's been a long day. This is the third one of these masterclasses I have done, but I love doing this. So you're welcome, all of you, Natalie, Carly, Chantal, Hydran. I'm glad you really enjoyed it, and I will see you all inside the Facebook group. And if you've got questions, ask. There's no such thing as a silly question. And I really hope, as I say, I get to see you as a student. So thank you very much. I'm going to close the session now, and I will see you guys in the Facebook group. Don't forget to check your emails for all the special offer reminders and contact your mentors. Thank you so much, and I will see you soon.